This is Brant, Gladhen Insurance Agency, former owner-operator. Today's topic is bidding loads. I strongly encourage you, if you're not already doing so, to dispatch yourself. It's a little challenging in the beginning, but I assure you, if you follow a lot of my steps, my guidelines, it'll speed up that learning curve for you. So one of the first things you have to do is to get to know your market. So I had some specialty areas that I hauled flatbed type loads. And so out of Cleveland, I know I always could pick up pipe. I had a relationship with a broker that had an account with a large facility up there that pipe. Down in Kentucky, precision strip with aluminum coils. St. Louis area, I picked up the modules for the G5 cell towers. So when I was getting into or near an area that I had a good relationship with a broker that had exclusive rights to contracts, ERMCO out of Dyersburg, Tennessee, with the transformers. So I would reach out to those brokers a day or two in advance and see if they had anything that would work with my schedule, and if they had any commodities I could move on their behalf. So those always paid me very well because there was a good relationship. So I could always ask for more. They didn't mind paying more because I had a good working relationship with them. Also, do you have a niche? Up front, I drove HotShot. I had a 40K trailer, and so I would take loads as high as 23.5 on my trailer. So I hauled a lot of equipment. So Ritchie Brothers or any of the auction sites, picking up equipment at a job site, delivering it to another job site. That paid very well. So equipment paid extremely well for me. So I picked that up off of the step decks every day, all day long. Got paid the exact same price that your step deck guys got. So try to learn your markets. Try to see if you can carve out a niche. For me, with regard to the flatbed world, I had no-go zones. So for me, it was do not venture past I-35. From San Antonio to Minneapolis, I try to stay east of that area. And imaginary line from Cleveland to Philadelphia, I tried not to go north of that. And if I had to go down into Florida, I tried to stay north of I-4. So that was just kind of my areas. And when you think of those areas, they're low volume and low reimbursements, because if you're hauling out to Los Angeles, there's not much coming back. That area imports a lot of product, but they don't export a lot back to the rest. So when you get to those trucking companies that are out west I-35, they're hungry. They can all go down to Phoenix and sit there and fight for, they got 12 trucks for every load. Generally, they get tired of waiting, or they beeline it back to I-35. So when you look at I-35, Houston, Dallas, Oklahoma, all those hungry trucks coming back into that area, yeah, there's a lot of volume out there, but it's high volume but low reimbursements. So when I worked at a high volume, low reimbursement, the rate is the rate. You can complain about you don't take $2 freight or anything all day long. As a single carrier, you're never going to have much influence on the market. So when I found myself in the high volume, low reimbursement areas, I only plan to take very short loads, 300 miles or less. The shorter the distance, usually the higher reimbursement. So I would try just to take a short load to get out of the high volume, low reimbursement area. And the moment that I got a load on my trailer, immediately I would I primarily work with Truck Stop. I had DAT, I had them both. Truck Stop was a little better for me than DAT. Immediately start looking for loads for the next day in the more lower volume, higher reimbursement. So generally securing a load, sometimes it takes me 6 to 8 hours to get the load I wanted. And I'll go through those procedures in a little bit. So I worked in a 2-square dimension across the United States. I worked from Rock Island, Illinois, down to Houston, over to Savannah, Georgia. If you're in Savannah, you can either drop into Jacksonville, up to Charleston, and as far as North Lima, Ohio, which is 70 miles, center point from Cleveland to Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh 70 miles away, Cleveland is 70 miles away, so I would try to hang out in that niche. And on those outer four squares, I would try to get there and get a load on Friday. If I had to haul high volume, low reimbursement, I wanted to haul them on Friday. The reason for it is that Saturday you're not getting a load. So if I can haul it on Friday and Saturday, the high volume, long distance, low reimbursement, then I'm utilizing my full clock, the full 70 hours for the week. So that was kind of how I looked at it. So I looked at the outer square, and then I also looked at the inner square. And for me, the inner square was Memphis to Baton Rouge, over to Mobile, and over and up to Birmingham, Alabama. Now, when you work in a low volume but high reimbursement, you can make bank on that. I did extremely well in those areas, but the problem that you have in the low volume, high reimbursements, by 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, they've already moved all the commodities out of that area, the majority of them for the day. Where if you're in Houston, you can run all day until nearly 3 o'clock finding work. But in the low volume, high reimbursement areas, by definitely by 10 o'clock, you're really getting lean. So if I was in Mobile, for instance, and didn't have a load yet secured from the previous day, I would, if it was 8:30 and I didn't have a load I was satisfied with, I would start hauling up to Birmingham, just driving up to Birmingham, set my filters on my truck stop app, and to what my specifications were for bidding loads, and every 20 minutes update for current city. And so as I was driving up to Birmingham, I would start looking for work, because that whole area is low volume but high reimbursements. But I had to get to a larger city. So anytime I was working in that arena, I'd always try to beeline it for the largest city near me to try to get a little more volume that I had at my current location. Give you my little secret. When I had truck stop open to the filters I wanted, I would have my phone up at eye level. For me, it was plugged into my air vent, but eye level. And if you open up YouTube, and you can collapse YouTube down to about a thumbnail size, and I would have that open while I have my truck stop app open, and then my phone wouldn't keep shutting off. So I could just put it up there, out of the way, and anytime a load hit with the filters that I was looking for, it'd pop up. I'd quickly glance at it, hit it, and start talking to the broker. And when you talk to the broker, it's also important to know the commodity. Before you start talking price, you really have to understand the commodity. For me, equipment was king, paid me very well. I did extremely well equipment. Yeah, for HotShot, getting 340, 350 a mile was very, very well. But I knew if I had to go to a construction site, pick up equipment, move it to another construction site, and deliver equipment, you have to load it and offload it all yourself. You can ask more for that. And anything with a time commitment, meeting with a crane, there's more risk on their side, but also on your side too. So for me, it was equipment, pipe out of Cleveland, sheet metals, fabricated metals, machinery paid well, and then the things that didn't pay well, generally things in the housing market, lumber, shingles didn't pay me well at all. So that's how I worked. I looked at high volume, low reimbursement, try to run as short mileage as you can Monday through Thursday. The low volume, high reimbursement was the inner square. For me, it was Memphis, Birmingham, Mobile, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And that's kind of how I looked at it. And one thing else I'd always recommend, I never, ever, ever hung up the phone with a broker unless I asked, is that the best price you could do? And you'd be amazed. Sometimes they'll just throw out another $200 on there. Generally, most of them would give you a little more. They all know the game. And if they ask you, what do you think for the price, throw a crazy number out there at them, and to make a joke about it and say, well, what were you thinking? Because if you give the price first, you have now lost the ability to negotiate the rate. So I would encourage you, if you're not dispatching yourself, go ahead and take a stab at it. I didn't know anything, as those might look at my other videos. I was a healthcare worker, didn't take the vaccine. jumped into trucking, didn't know anything about trucking. Had to come out of the market for personal reasons, and really miss it. I did well with HotShot. I averaged around $6,000 a week in billable revenue. I know if I was in tractor trailer, it'd be more, but my expenses weren't what the big guys were either. So this is my experience with bidding loads. I think I did very well with it. I was pretty happy with it. I mean, there were some off weeks. Everybody's gonna have an off week. But learn your market and sometimes know when you have the advantage. Take advantage of it because they will take advantage of you when you're at the other end of the spectrum. This is Brant, GladHandInsurance.com. I specialize as an independent agent. I work exclusively with truckers for their insurance needs, but with that, you also get me as a former owner-operator understanding your business. Please take a look at my website, GladHandInsurance.com. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.